Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unity's official live stream for the final show of 2023. It's been an amazing year where we hosted over 30 live streams. We got to feature so many creator stories that were both inspiring and technical. We got about 500,000 views this year and so much positive feedback from you that we can't thank you all enough for the time you spent watching this and your amazing questions as we do this live. Honestly, the format wouldn't be anywhere near as good as it is without your participation. So I hope we keep seeing you in 2024. And hey, we already have a whole collection of streams planned for next year, and we'll be back on January 17th for the first one. But it's not over yet for 2023. Today we have another Unity Tales episode. This time we have a little holiday bonus where you're getting 2 stories instead of 1. And we'll be talking to both Selva Interactive and Somber Pixel. Their games respectively are Illuminaria and Night Reverie, and we're going to be discussing their journeys as indie developers, their latest release, and their experience with the Google Play Indie Fund. Before bringing our guests on, we're going to play their trailers back to back, starting with Illuminaria. So let's play the trailer for that. Hey guys, how's it going?
Hello,
Welcome.
everyone.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Hassan.
great.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for joining, all of you. Let's do a quick round of introductions. Maybe you can tell us which studio you're working on, which game, of course, you worked on, your name, and just a little bit about yourselves. We'll start, I guess we can go clockwise. We'll start with Saul.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
hi everyone. I'm Sol Sanchez. I'm from Somber Pixel. We are from Peru. Actually, I started working in video games in another Peruvian company before joining the amazing team of Somber Pixel. So first, I started working in a point-and-click game called Arok, and then I'm actually the director and co-founder of FemDev Peru, which is a non-lucrative organization where we do game jams, events, workshops, all kind of stuff to bring more women into video games in Peru. And well, in Somber Pixel, so my role is CCO, but as an indie dev, we all do a lot of things. So marketing, programming, except from art and music. But yeah, that's me.
So nice to have you, Saul. And we'll dive more into all the different things you do on the game. And the game that you're talking about today is
Night Reverie.
Night Reverie. Yes.
Yes.
Great. And then we'll go to Alvi next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alvi. I'm a programmer. I'm from Guatemala, and I'm co-founder of the studio Selva Interactive.
Mhm.
and also co-founder of our local game development community in Guatemala, Game Dev GT. And as Salt mentioned, I'm a programmer, but also do a lot of things in our little studio. As she said, marketing, production, biz dev, and everything. So here I'm up to talk to any questions you may have about those topics.
So good to have you, Alvi. We're gonna be, of course, you're presenting Illuminaria as part of your studio, and Adolfo. Last but not least, please go for it.
Hi, thanks for having us here. I'm Adolfo Jumbrut, co-founder and CEO from Somber Pixel. As Sol mentioned, we have a lot of different roles because we're an indie game company. So programming, game design, you can mention it, we do it. So it has been a great journey making Night Reverie from scratch, making the initial designs have been great, seeing the game so well received in the different platforms, also having like a dream come true. And in the past, like we've been making games for so many years, many concepts in the past, like survival horror games, RPG games, and all kind of different genres that we can confidently say that we are really proud of our work and we cannot wait to share more with you.
I love that. We actually have some samples of the different work that you've worked on in the past and made. So we'll be looking at a bit of that. And I just want to say the thing that brings these two teams together is that they were both part of the Google Indie Fund. They were part of the same cohort. And so we'll talk a bit about what that is and what that experience was like. But first, I want to dive into the history a little bit. I want to know how you formed your individual studios. And I feel like looking at both these stories side by side is going to be really interesting to kind of compare and contrast the differences of your journeys. I'd love to start with Illuminaria. So Alvi, maybe you can talk about the Sevilla's Interactive's history as a studio, and like, how many people are actually on the team? How did the team meet? How did it all get started?
Okay, so we are a team of 3. We started as 2, and the company was started by my partner and I. We met at a university, and we started working on a graduation project that was an educational game.
Okay.
That was in 2010, around 2010, and I always wanted to make games since I was very little. And
Okay.
I started to study computer science because I want to make games, and that was the only path here in Guatemala that related to game development. So that was why I chose that. And then I met my partner there at college, and we started to working on this project, and we realized that we could fulfill this dream of making games. So we started to learn by our own, and started from 2010. We've been trying to make games, but we established our company Selva Interactive in 2016. And we've released 4 games, in fact. Nanu Leo, that's the one that you'll be seeing with Luminaria.
Yeah. Actually, we can put that on screen right now as you're talking about it. But let's put Nanalo and on the as footage while you.
Yeah, and this
going.
game was very important for us because we developed this game for an contest, for an indie game contest that had a cash prize. So using that money, we won 2nd place on that contest, and using that money, we could establish our company legally, and
amazing.
we got the funds to polish the game and release it on Steam and on mobile. And as the game had this previous validation that had won this competition,
yes,
we could also promote it, and it did pretty well on the App Store.
Yeah.
And also on Google Play, and that's the first time that we've been in contact with Google, because we also participated on another competition with Google about Latin American mobile games. So we presented Nano Level there, and that's how our relationship with Google began. And then we continued to make other games. Our next game, Highwind, did not do pretty well. It was not as we expected, but then we created Illuminaria, and that's what we're working right now.
Amazing. And so you told me you did the programming, but also the art on this, right?
Yeah, as we at the beginning, we were only the 2 of us, Carlos and I. working on this game. I was in charge of making the art for Nanoleo, and
Yeah.
it was very challenging for me because I'm not an artist, I'm a programmer. So I had to do several iterations about how to work with the art in this game. We chose the trees. There are little trees because the theme of the contest that we participated in was growth. So we choose this the trees and also the concept that is
Interesting.
the world is growing.
Yeah.
And I did several iterations that I was not happy with that work, but at last we came out with this idea of simple shapes.
Yeah.
And I'm very I'm fan of colors, and so I found a way to combine the colors, and I think that was a very important aspect that made like the art stand out. Yeah.
I think it looks so great. Like, for this to be your first project, and then for it to look this good, and for you to consider yourself not an artist. I consider you an artist, having seen this. But yeah, it's really fantastic. And you start to see, as we saw the trailer for Illuminaria already, and then looking at this, and there's this like city building theme that comes throughout your games. And I wonder, where did that start? Because you started developing, if I'm not mistaken, straight out of university, right, or college, and then you went straight into doing your own stuff, making your own games?
We started to work on other projects, like web-related projects, and also
Okay.
did some games for marketing agencies here in Guatemala. And then we worked. We got hired by a company that was making a game for Facebook back in
Okay.
the days. Yes, and then we joined this contest and won the money and established our own company.
So you built your skills creating games for other studios, maybe, and then won the contest, and you were able to fund the development of the studio, and then it went from there.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then did you build a community around this first game? Did you put it on Steam? Did you build it for Steam first? Did you build it for mobile platforms at first? What was the approach there?
We built it for mobile and then for Steam.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Okay, and then did you, right after releasing that game, did you jump straight into the development of Illuminaria?
No, we did another game called Highwind.
Right.
And for this game, we thought that as we already had contacts with the platforms, we thought the game is going to be like do real well on mobile.
Yeah.
And in fact, we ran out of funds for this game, and we had to take a loan to finish this game. But the game did not did well at all, so it was a disappointment for us, as we were expecting to have another successful game, but this was not the case with this game. So then we came up with the concept for Illuminaria. We did other projects on the side. I started teaching at a local university where I teach Unity programming, and then we started creating the prototype of Illuminaria, and we were lucky to have to receive funds and support from Wings. That is a fund that supports projects led by women and gender marginalized developers. So we were lucky to have support from them, and then we continue to develop Illuminaria.
Okay, that's fantastic. So I actually have a few more questions about that journey, but I want to talk a bit about Night Reverie as well, and hear a bit more about Somber Pixel's journey, and then we'll come back to talking about something that indies are. The first question is like, how do I go full time? How do I leave my whether it's my 9 to 5, or like how do I sustain myself as an indie developer? And you've both achieved that in amazing ways. So learning from your successes is just like we're lucky to be able to do that. So, but let's start from the beginning with Somber Pixel. How did you meet as a team, and how big is the team?
Oh, okay. It goes back from 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, actually.
Okay.
Yes, the first member of the team.
Yeah.
The first member of the team that I met was Sol, but at that time it was like the first day of classes, more than 10 years ago in university. So we met in the computer science program. We are both computer scientists. But at the time we didn't even know how to program. It was, we had nothing at the moment. I remember that we engaged on a Flash project that year, by the end of the first year. And we were trying to do this with other friends. We were trying to do a huge RPG. I believe that's one common
That's
path.
how you.
Like,
That's how you have to
Yeah.
start. You always have to start
yes,
with your first MMO.
yes, you
Never
want to
makes
Yeah,
make
sense.
exactly.
like the next Final
Yeah, yeah.
Fantasy, something like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And okay, but of course, we were like so young at the time, and at the moment, like we thought that it was possible, and we were making a lot of progress. But the problem was that we were using like outdated tools that we didn't know at the time. It was we were using ActionScript 3,
Okay.
but Flash was already being deprecated at the time. So we made a lot of progress, but at the end we had to cancel the project. But it was a great learning experience.
And just
But
for
what
context,
Yes?
so sorry for anyone who doesn't know, Flash was an old animation program that also had the capacity that you could make games with it, right? There was like a programming system as well, and you could write games in that animation tool. But people don't use Flash anymore; it's now deprecated, right? So sorry
That's
to
right.
interrupt. Just wanted to give
No,
the audience some
Yeah,
clarity.
it's a great content.
Yeah.
Yes. I imagine there's people that don't know Flash at the moment
Yeah.
because it's so old, but it was amazing at the moment.
Oh yeah.
So what happened was that thanks to that Flash project that we were making, I was able to meet at an accounting class. I believe it was a finance or accounting class, but it had nothing to do with programming. I met Arturo Ansi, who is the pixel artist, co-founder of Somber Pixel. At the moment, he had released a game named Subdog Underwater Adventure. And that game was a Google Play game, a Google game.
Okay.
And it was his first commercial release for him. And at that time, he had released that game under the name of Dark Pixel. and I remember when I met him, like I show him the Flash game I was making with my friends, and based on our taste for games, like we really like RPGs. I remember we were talking about Dragon Quest 8 that at the time released a mobile port of the game. So and I could not believe that one of my favorite games was on mobile. So that was like the starting point. And then he said to me, "Hey, we should make games together. Like I make pixel art, you are making programming, and so the both of us started making games." So that was like almost 10 years ago. And the problem is that university is really long in Peru. So it was like more than 5 years that we were like trying to make games, but we had so many
We're also
things
trying to pass.
Yes.
Yeah.
And well, at the time Sol was making other things. She was making other games at another company.
I was programmer in another Peruvian company here. But before that, I actually didn't knew that I wanted to make games. I actually started studying computer science because I love animation. Like I love Pixar, I love Disney, I love anime. So I kind of like joined because I was interested in going there. But then I found out that I came to realize that in my country, animation is not that big as in other countries, and like I couldn't have those opportunities as much. And so I started kind of like to panic at my last year of university because I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And thankfully, one of my teacher was the CEO of this company. And one day he came like, "Hey, we are looking for interns if anyone wants to apply." And I was like, okay, video games kind of sound like animation, so maybe I can try.
Right?
And I applied.
Animations in video games.
Yeah. And I applied. I got accepted. And then I fell in love with video game industry, and that's when I started like playing more games, finding more about the industry. Like I really fell in love with that.
Amazing. So that basically just started working together from that point onwards.
Yeah. So I finished the project that I was working on, and well, Adolfo and I, we've been friends since first day of college, so we always kept communicating, and he knew that I was already finishing my project. So he was like asking, "Hey, how are you doing? Like, what are your next steps? Are you still gonna work there? Are you looking for something else?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know." Also, pandemic started, so I was like, "Oh, maybe I can start working from my house to another company. Maybe I have more options to apply." Because for Latin Americans, sometimes it's hard to apply to other countries because of the visas, all the paperwork. But with pandemia, a lot of home office work started to get open for us as well. So I was like, maybe I can try to apply to more studios. And I remember Adolfo asking me, "Hey, have you ever wanted to have your own video game studio?
Oh,
And I honestly said, no, because I feel like it's a lot of work for one person. At
Yeah.
least for me, I really don't think that I could do it like alone. And if I do it with someone else, I really need to trust them and know that they're like good at their work as well, and that they're into it as well as me, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember he told me like, "Hey, I wanted to talk to you about something. Can we have a call?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And back then they released the demo of Night Reverie. I think it was on a Steam. What was it? The Steam Fest.
Yes, that's another story. Like, so
Yeah.
so during that time, during university, like we made various concepts. Thank you for Phosphor and Lost Hope. So those were like
We
our
have some
background.
footage, so we'll play some of
Yes,
that
I
as you're
really-
talking about it. We have Dungeons of Asphor, some footage of that.
Yes.
Um,
So Dungeons of Phosphor was an RPG game that we decided to make on our last year of university. Like we wanted
This-
to make a dungeon crawler, but it was really difficult to keep up with the development at the moment.
Yeah.
I believe Sol was already working on the other company she mentioned, so it was just Arturo and me at the time. It's really hard. Like we were doing like our thesis, I believe. Well, I don't know how you say it in English. We were making like a scientific
Graduation
paper.
project.
Yes, a
Yeah,
graduation
thesis.
project.
yeah, thesis
But
is-
and it had nothing to do with video games. Like we were like making data science, and this one was like our passionate project. But at the end, like the responsibilities, like we had to take software development work, each of us. So we really loved making this game, but we never managed to release that game. And also Lost Hope, that was our first, the first try we had in the industry to make a game, was
Okay.
a survival horror game.
I think we have a GIF of that game as well. We'll
Yes.
put that up.
Adolfo,
This is-
sorry, I have a question for you. Your friend Arturo is a programmer too, or is he an artist?
He always jokes that he can make anything with ifs statements because he's actually he's the artist,
System engineering.
but he's systems engineer. Yeah, so he learned a lot of programming too. Although he does not program at the moment, like he can do it. So, but he loves making art. He didn't study anything art related. It's like something he learned by himself.
Yeah,
So-
he's really good.
Yeah, yes, he. I believe he's a genius. I always say to him, "You're a pixel art genius." Like
That's
I
amazing.
cannot believe how you learned that by your own, because all the fluid animations and these graphics are from like 9 years ago or 8 years ago. So it has been a great journey on that side. And he actually, like, these were like the first games we were making.
Yeah,
But
this would
then-
look like a survival horror kind of game, right? Almost.
Yes, it was a survival
Yeah.
horror. Like we wanted to make a survival horror. We really liked this game named Lone Survivor.
Yeah.
That was on Steam.
Oh yeah, I know it.
Yes,
Pixel
it's
art,
one of-
moody kind of game.
Yes, it's like Silent Hill, but on pixel art. It's really great game.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was great making these games on our summer vacations. We sacrificed all our free time in order to make this. And these concepts were made on Unity. And one side note is that at the time, like there was no 2D like system. So we had like to have 3D lights that was directing to the pixel art. And it was like really hard to manage. As you can see,
You're-
all those lights are like 3D lights.
Because of the perspective, you had to kind of
Yes.
guess where the light was gonna land and try to make it work. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So now to join the Soul story, when we graduated, like we worked for a couple of years. Like
Mhm.
I was working on software development. Sol was working at the time at a game studio, as she mentioned, and Arturo was a systems engineer job. So there was one day on 2019, Arturo called me and he said to me, "Hey, I wake up every morning wanting to make games, and I don't want to keep doing like my day job because I really want to make art. So
Right.
what do you say we do this full time?"
Amazing.
So we made a plan. We saved money in order to survive for some time. In order
I'm
to
curious,
make games.
what was that time? That's something people ask. Like, of course, it varies from region to region where you live, but what was the amount of time you told yourself, like, we need like a year, we need 6 months, we need this amount of time to get a publisher, or something before like our savings run out? What was that time frame that you felt you needed?
So we established, we said like we needed around 1 year or 1 year and a half of saving.
Okay.
But in the end, it was like a little more. Like you
Nice.
have to increase that amount because
Yeah, I would say at least 2 years.
Yes, at
for
least 2
you to
years.
be like
Wow.
good, and but also like keep reevaluating that, because I remember
True.
that I think I saved up to for like 2 years, but then life happens. Maybe you have more costs than you anticipated, so you have to try to reevaluate. Like at the end of the year, I think I also did that. We all did that, and we're like, okay, maybe we don't have another full year. Maybe we have less, so we need to like start, working on it, see more funding opportunities, or publishing opportunities, or maybe even have a part-time job on the side. Like it depends.
Yes, it really varies depending on where you are. So at the time, like when we started making the game, like all this pandemic thing came. So it was like most of the development has been during that time. So many opportunities also came when it came to indie games, because most of the events were online now.
Oh, true.
And
so you could
so
able to
that
go to
was
all
a
of them
new-
all of a sudden.
Yes, and
Yeah.
being from Peru, like it's extremely expensive to travel to United States or other places for each event. So it was like a lot of bad things happens, of course, but also good things when it comes to opportunities. And we remember there was a time when at first we designed Reverie and we were making a demo just to overlap with Soul's story. So we made a demo, and that demo was for one of the first, or I believe the first, Steam Games Festival, which had another name at the time. I don't remember the name right now. So it was like on 2020. So we released the demo. It took us some months to make the demo. It was really fast, actually. We were like on a ultra instinct mode. We say like, okay, we have to do this. Like we have to make the game. So we work a lot, and we released the demo. And then was that Sol was able to play the game. And I asked her, hey, what are your plans? Because on the team, there was like, we were three at the moment. Arturo, who is the pixel artist, me, the programmer, and Denki, who is the musician, and he also makes the sound effects.
Nice.
But we needed another person full time, and I was asking Sol how was her schedule, and she can continue the story from now.
Yeah, so we had a call, and I honestly I never imagined that he would offer me that. Actually, when I played the demo, I remember like I really fangirled about it because I really loved it. It's very similar to all my favorite games. So I was like, oh my god, I love that you did this and this and this, and then he actually offered me like, hey, we are looking for another full-time partner, so will you be interested?
Okay.
And I told him, let me think about it, because obviously I had to think about the money, if I could like really just quit my job for stuff. And so we finished that call. I started like right away looking at my finances. I love to save up, so I was good for 2 years. Like I did the math, and I was like, okay, I really need to pay these. Okay, I can live at least for 2 years, I think. And also I still live with my parents, so like I don't have to pay rent. That's also a good save up. So I actually talked to my parents too, like, hey, so this friend has tell me this, and I really want to do it, but I want to know like how our finances are as a family, so we can make the decision. And I love that my father was like, the only thing that my father asked me was, do you trust them? And I was like, yeah, totally. And he was like, okay, do it. Like, this is the time for doing it. Like, you're young. Don't worry about rent. Like, we're your parents. We're not gonna we're not gonna ask you for rent, so that's okay. We can support that. I think it also helped that my father is also an entrepreneur. He also back then, when also he had me and my sister, he made his own company. It was even more risky for him. So for me, at his eyes, it was like, do it now. Like, you can do it. You don't have those responsibilities now, so go for it. So yeah, it was really cool.
I mean, having an entrepreneur father would definitely help.
Yeah.
Help you like push you in that direction, and it's awesome that you. I'm sure you don't regret making that decision at all either. The game is freaking awesome, looks great, and we're gonna look more at that. I want to go back to Alvi. For you, what we were talking about the pandemic for Somber Pixel, but what about for your studio? What were you doing during the pandemic?
When the pandemic started, we were pitching the game, and we were like waiting for the answer from Wings, like if they're gonna fund the game or not. So we were on the kind of financial trouble if we did not get the funding. So we were like trying to figure out what we're gonna do, and how do I say it? Like, fortunately, we got the funding. We could continue creating the game. So it was for us. We were the two of us working on the game, and when we got the funding, we were able to hire Herbert, who is the artist of the game. At the beginning, I was making the art also for the game, but when we got the funding, the people at Wings told us that they would like to fund the game, but if we need to change the art, and that we proposed like some other art styles or suggestions for how the art will be. So we did a call for artists here in Guatemala, and we got like portfolios and that sort of stuff, and we evaluated everything, got to make interviews, and then choose Herbert to be our artist. And we worked during all the pandemic remotely, and we met him like last month. Finally, he is.
Wow.
He's,
That's a long time.
Yeah. We only had worked like online. And only talked to him on camera, but we were finally able to meet him in person, and it was great. Yeah.
Wait, Saul and Adolfo, have you met in person?
Yes.
You have, of course. You've been friends for a long time, not just online friends, like real life friends, like in person friends. Okay.
We also work a lot online on Discord, and from time to time we hang out together, especially because we are from Peru right now. So
yes, you're both in the same. Got it. Okay. And I noticed something in both your stories where there was the push in both your cases, something that like either motivated you or pushed you to make the decision to go full time. Alvi, in your case, it was receiving the amazing feedback on your first game and like feeling that like winning the award and feeling that motivation of like, hey, maybe we're onto something here. And that really pushed you as a team with you and your partner to go full time. And Adolfo, I think it was Arturo who came to you and said, listen, I need to go full time. He had to have that conversation with you, right? But if he didn't have that conversation, maybe you would have still been doing this part-time, right? Like somebody has to break that ice, I feel.
Yes.
Yes.
That actually, I was 2 years prior to that, when we finished university, I wanted to make that full-time. But we needed to work, like financially, that it was the wrong decision to go full-time at first. Okay. So Arturo came with this plan, like 2 years later. And it was great because we had already experienced more things when it came to software development. And I believe that when you know things about software development, not just on game development, it is an advantage. Like you know more tools, you know how to make and there's a lot of things when it comes to developer tools, software architecture that you can bring to the table when it comes to game dev. So I believe it was the right time when Arturo decided to make this call, and I was like, let's do it, like right now.
You were on the same wavelength, basically.
And for me, it happened like twice because, as I mentioned at the beginning, I joined the college computer science program for making games. What my goal, but in the beginning, while going through the program, I had like kind of lost hope that this could be done. But then my partner came with this idea of this game for our graduation project and said, I need more people to join me as for the team. And would you like to work on this? And I said, okay, maybe we can try to see how this works, and maybe we can make games on our own. So that was what convinced me to that this can be done, and that's why how we started. And also, I wanted to mention that my parents also have a business, a small business, like family business.
Yeah.
So I think maybe some people like are afraid of this.
Yeah.
Bureaucratic stuff and how to establish a company or how to do
Definitely.
invoices and how to pay services and that sort of stuff. But I think that having that like a background thing that I learned while I was a child, like growing with the family business and doing how they do like that sort of stuff, helped me a lot, like to lose this fear.
Yeah, especially if they involved you in it from
Mhm.
a young age. I mean, that's people want to start their own studios, but sometimes I think they don't realize that it's not just making games. It's making games and running a business, and sometimes running the business can take so much time, maybe half your time in certain periods. It can just be like all the taxes you have to do, filing things, calculating your expenses, invoices, hiring people, contracts.
Just writing emails takes a lot
Yes,
of time.
it's
writing
half the time. It's not making the game itself.
Yeah.
making sure you don't sound mean in your emails, there's just like all these kinds of things, making connections. So yeah, and again, like with Saul, you had to, you got the push from two other people who were already ready. Alvi, your partner, came to you and was like was ready when you were. It's like, and I feel like you need other people as well a lot of the time. There are some people who do the whole solo indie thing, but it's quite rare and not always the best option. I think like having
Yeah,
other
and
people to motivate you is.
And for the people that are here listening to us, maybe you can be the one motivating somebody else, like Arturo did
Exactly.
for Adolfo. Yeah, so maybe you can try it.
100%. And yeah, it's just great to see that all the different stories, all the different dynamics, and how it pushed you to get to where you are now. That's really great. And then one thing leads to another, but then also it's worth mentioning that it doesn't always just work out. And you mentioned in your second game, Alvi, that it was like for your team, in one aspect it was a bit of a disappointment, right? Obviously, it's
Yes.
still great to release something and put something out there, and you can be proud of that, but it didn't do what you expected it to do. Can you tell me a bit more about that experience of getting hit with this failure when you have different expectations, and then how do you overcome that and keep going?
Yeah, it's like it's really disappointing when you launch a game and you've put so much effort into this and you have spent a lot of time working onto that, and then you release it and it's like nobody you have like no responses from the press, no responses from like the platforms to feature you
Wow.
or to help you, and you go and see like how many copies you have sold, that you see in the tens or in the hundreds, that is like not what you expected. It's really disappointing. So
Of course.
uh, what we did is take the time to pass this. Like it's kind of a grief, something like
Yeah.
similar to that. Is kind of
Yeah.
to overcome this. And as we wanted to make games and had more ideas, we started to experiment with those ideas, and we understood that this was not ourselves that we were done wrong. Was this project this specific project that was a disappointment, not ourselves. So we
Right.
try to experiment with other ideas, and as I mentioned, we really want to do this. We really want to make games, so we tried again. Because we did not want to go back to working on web development or
You experienced that. Yeah.
yeah, it's not really not for me.
Yeah.
So we wanted to give it another try, and
Definitely.
yeah, we were also when we were at the end of this journey, we were pitching the game. We also did not receive the positive responses. Some publisher like ignore us totally and did not reply to the emails, and yeah, it was a very complicated process. So we were really thankful that the people at Wings got to support us, and it is a there is a really curious or strange story that their first reply was that the game did not run, and
Oh, okay.
and we said, how is that happening? Like it runs on my computer, like why
Yeah.
it's not running? on there. So, and then we figure out that we were using an old library to load like JSON files, and
Oh, I see.
yeah, and it was not updated, so it does not it did not work on Europe, only here in America because
Oh,
because of
yeah.
how the numbers are stored. Like
Okay.
yeah, they like it could not transform it to a number. And then we go, because we were using this library from back in the days and from our previous game, and we did not have that problem. But we go back to the GitHub page, and then we noticed that they had updated the library, and then okay, that was the problem, and then we corrected it and sent the build back, and then it worked, and yeah, they liked
Okay,
the game.
perfect.
Yeah,
That must have been a very stressful time, though. That
yeah,
moment,
yeah. Yeah, but it was, yeah, we have like ups and downs during the development process. Yeah, and
yeah.
the downs had been very very stressful, but also the ups very satisfying. So yeah.
Great. And I want to dive more into like the actual like game and the development of Illuminaria. So we have some footage that you were kind enough to share with us of like the prototype as it evolved. But before we show that footage, can you give everyone just a quick? We showed the game so far, but we didn't really talk about it, like a synopsis of the game yet. So can you tell us a bit more about like what is Illuminaria about and how did it come about?
Okay. Illuminaria is a strategy game. We wanted to make a game that is easy to grasp and easy to play on the strategy genre, because some of these games are really big and need like a lot of time for you to learn the rules and to start playing. And maybe there are people that do not have this time, and people that are starting with the genre, and it's like something easier. And that was what motivated us to create the game. So to mention it, Illuminari is a strategy game that combines resource management, tower defense, and base building. Players embark on a journey to save a dying planet, commanding an army of intelligent robots to mine resources, manage and defend multiple bases, explore, and forge an army of golems to bring back the light to the world. So this is a planet that has been invaded by darkness, and you need to clear the darkness from the world. And this, what we're seeing right now, is one of the very early prototypes that this Carlos, my partner, did. On his own, and he used some of the assets from Kenny, if you know him.
Yes,
And,
of course. Kenny's huge.
yeah,
He creates all these kinds of assets. So actually, sorry, that's the wrong footage. We want to go back to that prototype footage that you were talking about, the one that was just on. We'll go back to that.
Yeah, and I will. So this Carlos made it on his own.
Yeah.
And we were he was experimenting with some different mechanics, and these mechanics are really not in the game right now. As the mechanic of building, it is still in the game, but here we had two different building layers, one for electricity and one for walls.
Okay.
So we decided to simplify this in the final version of the game. This is the electricity layer. So it's called Illuminaria because you were like illuminating the different parts of the game. But this thing like did not get into the final game. Like we only got like to build in the different warehouses. Yeah, and here also you had to assign. We have some workers. It's a swarm of robots, as we call it, that need to gather and build. So in this version of the game, we had to assign how many workers do we need in each task, as is similar to other strategy games, and we simplified that and made them choose their task automatically. So that was on the other version of the game. I think we have footage of the next prototype.
We do have the next prototype. It's crazy to see this evolution. I can't wait to show the final version. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah. And this is the graphics that I made, and basically is the same idea that you need to build some warehouses, that we call it, and to gather resources and store them in there. So here we have different robots, as we decided that our characters will be robots, and this is basically the same mechanics that we had in the final game, and also there's a very similar design on the warehouses and the placement on the resources and the design of the caves, as the game is inside caves. So basically this has like the whole mechanics and the gameplay loop. And this was the prototype that we sent to Wings to get the fun. This one.
Oh, great. So this was like the main demo that we're showcasing
Yeah.
around. Looks great. And you can see you're really starting to get that cave aspect to it. The level design changed a bit. Things start to look a lot cleaner and more clear. There's a lot more clarity as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks great. Again, your art looks fantastic.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you very much.
Very, very clean and clear. And so the game works. It kind of reminds me like a mix of like a tower defense and like Go. You know, in Go when you have to like surround certain tiles and you capture everything inside. And so it feels like that, where you're like capturing the spaces in between and you're filling it. The number of tiles become the number of resources that you're collecting, right? So
Yeah.
it's actually like, there's like a space management element
Yeah.
to it. So if I want this much stone, I want this much like the diamonds or for different purposes, and then you have to destroy those eggs at the top, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Perfect. And I will show what the game looks like today. We have footage of that, some gameplay footage of the game today, and you can talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, and the game, like the art changed drastically as we had Herbert, who is an art professional, and he is very talented. And we really, when he pitched us his portfolio, we really liked it because he was like had this style like fantasy or style that we were looking for. So we chose him, and I think it went really well with the game. Maybe we can talk about Night Reverie and then came back to Illuminaria with the most
Sure.
recent footage.
With the most recent, for sure, yeah. And I think we loaded up the wrong footage there, so we'll talk about the early prototypes for Night Reverie, and then we'll come back and talk about. Yes, sounds good. And so what did Night Reverie look like at first? What was the process for that?
Oh, it was really fast actually. Like we didn't make any like super early concept because I had a conversation with Arturo. Both of us were like out of a job at the moment because we had already quit our jobs in order to make this full time. So I remember that we were sitting here and we were talking like, hey, like we should make like a game. We were making a more complex game, and we said, okay, now that we have more experience, we should reduce the scope and let's make a game that is actually easier to make.
Mhm.
So there were a lot of games that we liked, and we thought that maybe going through a puzzle adventure game was like easier because it requires like less animations, it requires like less action, less balance, because when it's an RPG you have to balance the game and other things. So we wanted to tell also a story, and we said, hey, we can tell that story through this game. So we decided at first, let's make a game about a boy who has a sister, and there's a problem, and maybe you are in a strange version of your house, and you see various animals, but each animal also represents something like a problem that you have to solve. So those were like the first a first conversation that we had. That in that hour conversation, like we went all the way to the final boss.
Oh my God.
Like the most productive conversation in history for us. That
happens
was
sometimes when you're inspired and you're in the right zone. You just you're on a roll.
That's like mind like water state. So we were like on the same page at the moment. So we open Google Docs and we start writing everything at that moment. And when the next week after that, like we were already making the game. So we didn't make like a huge game design document. It was like really small. And well, that's the final game actually that you can see on screen. But there's a screenshot that has like how the game look and how the game look at the end of the development.
Okay, yeah, let's look at that to see.
Because there was an inspiration at first when it came to the game, because we really like One Shot. That is an amazing game, one of our favorite games. And we also like things like Alice in Wonderland, that aesthetic, that strange world that we wanted to communicate.
And
So
here it
on the
is.
left,
And that's really the feeling I got while playing the game. I was like, wow, okay, this is really kind of Alice in Wonderland feeling. A bit
yes,
more creepy, even, I would say.
Yes.
I could tell you were working on a survival horror before this.
So on the
Yeah.
left, that's like an early concept that we had, because we wanted to make a game when you were like not a bad guy, but a really strange guy
Yeah.
who has like which in a really whimsical place, like a really strange world. So the first one on the left was like the art style that we use at the end for Night Reverie. Yeah, we use, of course, new lighting and new technology, because at the time we were like on Unity 2019, which already had the 2D lights, so it was easier. And
No more 3D spotlights on the
yes,
screen?
yes, the workflow was much better now.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yes, and I remember at the time even like we used something that doesn't exist anymore. That is like lightweight render pipeline. I believe that was the name. It was replaced by URP, which is
Yes, that's
like
right.
the render the one we use right now. So on the left was like an early concept, and what I really like is that we use something that we had made earlier in order to make Night Reverie when it came to visuals. But of course, everything changed. The main character changed. Actually, the character from the left is another character on Night Reverie in the final version. So we-
right.
Yes, so
Yeah.
we use a lot of things that we already had, and when it came to other things, like Arturo, like he drew every single piece of animation of pixel art. Each frame of the game was made by a single person, and that's great. Like it was a great learning process for everyone, and the result at the right is thanks to all the art, but also thanks to the technology at the moment. Like Unity with a 2D lighting system made it so much easier in order to make these whimsical places with these lighting conditions.
And you can see the difference, like on the left, it looks good and it's subtle, but there's like the visual on the right is really popping. It's a lot more saturation, a lot more color. It really catches your eye.
Yes, and it was like with lightweight render pipeline.
Mhm.
So, having 2D lights, when we saw that feature, also actually at first we use it as experimental, which is something I don't recommend ever.
Mhm.
You have to use like production ready technology. But thankfully, once we were making progress, like everything went to production. So all bugs were fixed.
updated.
There was a strange bug where some lights started to blink, and it was like a nightmare, because that's like OCD level of nightmare. Like you don't want that in your game. But it was solved. Yes.
That's great. I wonder, like, in terms of the design of the game, your previous iterations and prototypes had like a lot more action. Let's say there were, one had a gun, one had a sword. It's interesting that when you went to production, you decided to strip that away and focus on the narrative. I'm wondering what made you make that decision.
Oh, at first we thought that telling us a story. If we want to make just one game, we wanted to make a good story. Like we were imagining that this is the only game we can make.
Right.
Like let's make it let's tell a story that we want everyone to have this message, so that when you finish the game, you have something more within you, like a lesson,
Yeah.
or something that is introspective.
Okay.
So that narrative game is actually the way. And when it came to the technical aspect, like it is also easier to make these systems, because they're more like that on their own. For example, you have a dialogue system, but that dialogue system is completely apart from the other systems. So it is easier to test. But there was a thing that we really had to consider more. Like it's a really expensive game when it comes to translation. When you want to localize the game is around like 50k
Words.
50k words. So, Sol can speak more about that, because she was the one.
It's funny
making-
because you said like we decided to do a narrative game because it was easier. But then we found a lot of difficulties
Of
because
course,
of the
everything has
narrative
its own
aspect.
difficulties.
Because also, well, one was the translation part, because there are,
Right.
since it's narrative, it has a lot of dialogues, so
Yeah.
it has a lot of words to translate. So for us, it was very expensive to even consider, like, any language that we consider could be like a lot of money that we couldn't afford back then. and and also the other thing was the marketing stuff, because since it's a story that we're telling, we couldn't like spoil as much in our posts or things, talk about too much about the game or what it's about, because if not, it's like, oh, spoilers. And anybody wouldn't play the game. So
Yeah.
yeah, those were the two things that were the most difficult.
Got it. Okay. And when you play the game, you'll notice you can interact with like every single object. You can examine every single item you have in your inventory. There's special dialogue when you use the item, when you equip it. And so like there's dialogue littered all over this game. And so it gives it so much personality, so much charm. It's totally worth it in the result. But I can imagine how much work it was, and like you couldn't miss a beat, right? You have to make sure everything was addressed, and you had dialogue on everything. So I mean, I think people who play it do appreciate it. And I understand what you're saying, Adolfo, with moving to a full narrative game. You wanted to focus on one thing and do it great rather than do many things okay, right? Like combat plus narrative plus this, but they're all like subpar versus doing one thing great, which you did.
I have a question for Adolfo and Sol. And how did you work on the story, as you are like all the teams are, or people from the team are programmers or system engineers? How did you work on the story?
Okay, that's a great question. So the core of the story that we respected all the development, the 2 years of development, was the hour conversation we had at first. So it was like really productive. Like the story, like the core of the story of the game was established at first. However, when it came to dialogues and a really important plot twist, it was like after we released the demo, the first demo of the first part, we realized that we had to make some changes when it came to the dialogues, because it was really robotical at first, because we are not like our first language is actually Spanish. We don't speak English natively. So making and we were making like the first language English, because it is easier to go from English to other language when it comes to translations. So on the first demo, most of the dialogues were like if every character was the same. It lacked personality. So that's when we received a lot of help from a friend who is Nadir Yoino, who really helped us with the narrative part when it came to dialogues. So she gave a new personality, a new way to speak to each of the characters. And that's a really important aspect. And she also made sure that our narrative aspect was in line with what we wanted to transfer to the user. And
Yes.
I believe that really worked. And Sol was the one who was working with Nadir in order to ensure that everything was going really good on the narrative aspect.
Yeah,
Nice.
that dynamic worked really well, because so we were three full time. Arturo doing the art, Adolfo doing most of the programming, and also because I joined once the demo was already released, so I was like helping Adolfo with some programming stuff. But then we were like, okay, but we need to work in the narrative. Like we hadn't worked on the dialogue, like we had the story, but it was okay. Now the details, the scenes, and we need also the dialogues, what the character's gonna say, how if it says this, then what is gonna happen, like the cutscenes. Are we gonna have more cutscenes? Are we don't wanna have cutscenes? Like a lot of those decisions. So I started focusing on the narrative part. And at first it was very intimidating because I didn't know anything about narrative, and it was like, okay, make the dialogues, and I was like, okay, sure. And I started writing just like a lot of dialogue, like whatever comes into my mind. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start writing. And then we started polishing, and then Nadir came, and it was amazing because she already had more experience in what it was working the narrative. She gave me a more structured way to work in the characters. For example, have like a page for each character telling name,
Character sheet.
age, some characteristics, like what they like, what they don't like, how they will act on this kind of situation. More
Yeah.
information about them, so we have more clearness in the way we write. So, oh, this person, it's like, oh, he's more silly, and yeah, he likes to make jokes, kind of stuff. So we were like, okay, I need to write it like this, like more in this tone, like,
Yeah.
or another one that is more like, oh no, like he's shy, and oh no, I like, oh sorry, like he says a lot of sorry, no, I didn't want to bother you, like this kind of personality. So we were like, okay,
Apologetic.
so yeah, he needs to be
Yeah.
more like this. So she really did the magic on the dialogues, and that's what they ended up on the game.
But I do like how when you first started, your approach was just to write whatever came to mind, and that's actually a technique called free writing, where you just write, even if you're writing about your day, you start just to start writing, and then eventually it
Yeah.
will turn into the thing you want to talk about, right? And I think it's interesting, like you naturally came to that, and but then you added structure to it to get to where you needed to go, which is really great. But I do recommend free writing to anybody who just can't seem to like start writing about the thing they want to write about. Just start writing about anything, and it'll get rid of that starting friction, so you can get to
Yes, definitely. Because at first it's like, oh, like I'm afraid, like I want it to sound perfect,
Yeah,
and it's like,
right.
no, it's not gonna be perfect at the same time. Just write, and even it sounds silly or whatever, it's just write
Iteration.
it, and then you polish, and then you polish. Yeah.
Yeah.
We went
Yeah.
through each like single line of dialogue a lot of times, like a lot of iterations, and it really helped because we had like different revisions, and at the end, like we are a small team, so we say, hey, let's like each of us, let's check the dialogues and let's see if we all of us like the dialogues, and we did that, and it was like a really democratic way because it's a really personal game. So
Yeah.
we really want to be happy with each of the aspects, and we were really lucky to be working with Red people, and the translation part, which is the localization, was also a challenge, right? Because we launched with 6 different languages at first, and at the moment is at 11 languages. Thanks to the Google Indie Fan, we were able to have 5 more languages.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that soon, like what that experience was like with the Google Indie Fund. But I do want to go back to Alvi to actually, I want to show the footage of what Illuminaria looks like today, and maybe you can tell us a bit more about the game. And just again, I want to explore, because 2 of your games so far have been city builders. Do you think this is going to be a consistent theme with your studio? Is it something you want to keep developing? So let's put that footage up, and maybe you can speak to it. There we go.
Okay, so here's how the game looks right now. We have 5 different regions that have different assets. And Herbert is really great at concept art, and he did like everything from concept to the final assets in the game. So here, like if we compare it to what I did before, like it was really simple, and now it has a lot more of personality and a lot of more details. Here the robots have their own style, their own personality, and also the world and we have, as I mentioned, different assets for the different worlds. So basically the gameplay is the same, but we have like a different world for the ice region, for the desert region, for the lava, and my favorite one is the dark region, which really Herbert got really creative, and it's looking like amazing. So if you can like check it out and pass the whole game, and at the end it will be a nice surprise to see the dark region. So basically, as we saw before, the gameplay is the same. You have to build or capture, as Hassan said, these regions, and then fill them up with resources. Like you tell the robots which resource they need to place in each one of these warehouses, and you need to combine these resources to get more advanced resources and to construct machines and refine more resources, and the final objective is to build an army of golems to take back a cave that has been captured by darkness. So that's the final objective in each one of the regions, but we have like small objectives that in this cave is to light in each cave is to light the beacon at the top of the cave, like to connect the beacon to the wall of to the network wall, and light it up so it will eliminate the darkness that is surrounding the area. And for example, you'll have like different obstacles like this X, and different enemies that will come to attack and steal your resources. You have little monsters that come flying and take and steal your resources. They are very fun because they laugh at you when they're stealing your resources. And you have like bigger monsters. Here we are looking at the world, at the assets of the world. And so I was mentioning the big monsters come to attack your reactor that big caves have at the bottom of the cave. So you have to build turrets to prevent them from crashing into your reactor and destroying. And for the small turrets are for the small enemies that come to steal your resources. So basically, when you light the beacon, you clear the area and you can go to the other cave. And another interesting point is that all the caves remain active at all times. So you can have attacks in different caves at the same time. And you can have resources that are like, for example, one cave where you have more stone or more crystals, and the other that is that you use to develop more other resources. So you can think about how to distribute the space between your caves. And also we have these other activities that are called expeditions that we'll go and see later in the game. And we also use that to give it a little bit of personality to the robots as they are they encounter different events and they react like differently depending on the event that they encounter. So it's really fun. And for example, this tutorial windows that we use also to give like a little bit more of personality to the characters. And here there come the monsters to steal the resources. And yeah, the
Getting
turrets
shot by your turret right
yeah
now.
yeah
Honestly, it's amazing how much is happening at the same time and how it's all pulled together in such a clear way. Like really, it's so impressive how much this game has, like with all the different there's multiple caves, and this is not all the gameplay. Like you said, there's other aspects to the game where there's an auto battler aspect as well, and each different like all the different mechanics are well thought out with like unique approaches to me. Like this has RTS elements to it with the resource collection and building, but I don't know, personally I've never seen it done in this way, especially with like the different scopes, like finishing a level, finishing a cave, leaving, coming back to it. You're kind of managing at different scales, and I think that's really cool, and anybody who's into factory type games will absolutely love this.
Yeah, we wanted to do something that was different, and we took inspiration from different genres of the strategy spectrum, as you said, like tower defense, base building, and real-time strategy. So we came out with this combination of elements, and we tried to make it like really easy to grasp. And approachable for people that is starting with the strategy genre and want to experiment like a little bit of the different aspects. And I think it's very fun on mobile and on Switch too. I think at the beginning we released it for PC, but the mobile version I really like the mobile version. So in case you want to try it out, it's in different platforms. And here this cave, the cave number 3 is the one that has a reactor at the bottom. Let's see if we can oh, there's the monsters.
And how was your experience building for multi-platform using Unity?
It was great, especially working with the Google Indie Fund and Unity, because as part of the fund we got the support from Unity and we got a project review. And for Illuminaria, we could learn how to use the different tools that Unity has for optimization, and we learned how to use the profiler, the memory profiler, and it was really helped us a lot because as the different worlds in our game have different assets, we ended up with lots of images
Right.
and lots of assets, and that was one of the bigger problems, that we had to learn how to compress these assets to
Of
export it
course.
to mobile and to Switch, and
Yeah.
also how to optimize the code. That in some instances we were running like code like in the update method, and we moved it out or simplified, and or yeah.
The approach that
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense. And when you were building the game, did you realize you were going to build it for phone at first, or did that come after, once you started to get in touch with the Google Play Store and the Indie Fund?
We were thinking about making it for phones since the beginning, and that's
Okay.
why we wanted to do it with simple interactions that could be translated to touch.
Yes, it's good to know
Yeah.
that early on, definitely. Otherwise, you'll probably need to change so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when we at the beginning, when we had like the two layers, one layer for electricity and the other layer for building, it made it like more complicated to use the controls. So we simplified that, and then we came out with this form of building where you need only to click or tap in mobile and select where you need to build and what asset do you need, and then I think it makes it really easy to interact with.
Your friends
And
do all the work for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
What was complicated was adding the controller support,
Oh,
as we did not have like a character. We
True.
were like trying to figure out how to move like the screen, what buttons to assign to different actions. So, and it got a bit complicated.
Yeah.
So I will say that will be the more complicated part, the controller support. But for the touch, it was really easy. And here is the part where the monsters
your
come to
reactor.
attack the reactor. Yeah.
Yep.
So you can, later in the game, you can create more different types of ammunition. So you have bullets, lasers, and
Wow.
flamethrowers. So by combining different resources and unlocking different types of machines that you can build later in the game, the robots can combine these resources and create more advanced resources. So yeah,
And you're getting notifications there letting you know that which bases are being attacked, right?
yeah.
Wow.
You have little notifications. It's a lot of programming.
I have a question
Yeah.
about that. So I see so many resources, so many things happening in the game. How did you balance the game? What's
Yeah.
the way to go?
It was really complicated because usually when you play the game, a lot of times it becomes easy for you, but it's not for other people. In fact, some people think like the game has a childish style, and they think like it's for children specifically. But we did not thought about it at the beginning like in that way. So what we were basically doing is to like having an Excel sheet with different values and saying like, for example, we need this kind for unlocking this element, we have like to have 10 of this, 20 of that, and 15 of that, and we try it out. We put it into the game and play it and see how it feels, and then say, oh no, it's too much, let's go back to the Excel sheet and put it like, okay, we're gonna need like 10 and then 5. Yeah.
That's the same with the game economy.
Yeah. Like we come out with an idea first. Like we fill this Excel sheet with different parameters and say, well, okay, so this is like how is our vision or idea or initial thoughts on it. Put it on the game, play it, and then go back and do it again. For our first game, Nanuleo, we even did like an artificial intelligence to play the game like several times
Wow.
and to see which one was like better. But what our artificial intelligence or like our algorithm chose.
Ahead of the time.
Yeah, seriously.
Yes.
AI before AI was cool.
Yeah. But what our algorithm chose when we try it out was not really that fun. Yeah, the algorithm thought it was like more effective, but when you played, it was boring. So we left that algorithm out and like tried it by hand again.
Oh, okay,
Got it.
so a lot of
A
testing.
lot of
then.
play testing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at first you were like, did the algorithm help at all when you like, did it give any insights, or did you feel like, no, we just need to do this by hand?
No, I think, as I said, no.
Yeah,
Like,
no, huh? Completely
was
not.
fun. It was fun to make, but no. I think maybe if we could like put more time into it and refine it and add more parameters,
Got it. Yeah.
maybe
Push it
maybe.
further and yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Got it. We didn't also get a chance to look at the today's gameplay of Night Reverie. I think we looked at the before after, but let's show a bit of the gameplay of Night Reverie before we talk about, or maybe we'll show it while talking about actually like the Google Indie Fund. So we'll go back to the Night Reverie B-roll. Just want to make sure that that's up there. There we go. Yeah. So tell us a bit about how you came across the Google Play Store, Google Indie Fund. Did you know you wanted to build a game for mobile, and how did you like get in touch with them, or did they get in touch with you?
I think at first we didn't expect to go to mobiles. So our
Yeah.
first goal was like to release our first commercial game in the Steam, and that was like once we did that, we were like, "Yay! Finally! Now
Yeah.
what?
Right.
Okay, let's keep doing something. What can we do?" And we found out about the funding. I think it was by Twitter. Also, some friends of ours like told us about it, like sent us the link, like, "Hey, we saw this. Maybe you can apply." And at first, like, we weren't so confident to participate because we were a narrative game, and on mobiles it's usually more like casual or more interactive games. And at first, I think we even kind of didn't want, like, we didn't plan to apply, but then we were like, okay, come on, let's do it. What's the worst that it could happen? Let's just go for it. And the worst that it could happen is that they tell us no. So it was more like, okay, let's apply. And I especially was in charge of starting like the presentation, redacting the letter, all the questions that they asked for the submission. And I remember that for that submission, I was like very motivated to be like, okay, we're a narrative game. There are not many narrative games in mobile, so let's pitch about that and like research what other narrative games there were already on their platform and were kind of similar to our game. So they had success on their platform. We wanted to show them, hey, our story is good too. Maybe it could be also very popular on your platform. And we started working on that on our page, and yeah, we submitted. and and I don't know, Adolfo, maybe you want to add more about it, our submission
Yes.
process.
Yes. Well, basically, what Sol just said is what happened, and then we had the meetings, and it was amazing the moment they told us that we were part of the indie fund, that we were selected. It was like a dream come true, like working with them, and it was a great opportunity to have the game on mobile. So it is like a new player base, and we are like really we really like the game to be on hands of more players because it's really a history that we really like to share. So we then realized that well, we already knew that the game needed a lot of optimization because, as Sol mentioned, the game was like PC only at first, and the controls, the UI, the performance was not ready for mobile. Like, we had an idea of what we had to do, but it was a lot of work. But
Right.
as Albi mentioned, with the help of Google and Unity, and we were able to like to have the tools and the orientation to make the port. It took some time and a lot of iteration when it came to the UI, but we think that at the end we did a good port. It runs
Amazing.
well. But yes, the technical aspect was one of the spiciest aspects.
And Alvi, you mentioned that they did give a lot of support on the technical aspect, right? In terms of knowledge sharing and resources, like actual funding. Is that true for both your teams?
Yes,
Yes.
the Google Indie Fund, actually the funding was thanks to the funding, we managed to have the game on more languages and to reach more people and to make the port. But also Unity support was one of the parts of the indie game fund.
Yeah,
And
we have group calls with everyone
yes,
Great.
on the funding, and it was great because like we started talking like, what are you doing this week, like all the things the things that we were planning to do or what you were looking at right now, and sometimes the problems of others were like, oh, we want to do that too, like how did you do this, how did you solve this?
That's
So
amazing.
it was really great
So it's
sharing
for the
that.
full cohort, not just within your team, but with other teams as well. And how many
Yes,
other teams?
exactly.
There were 10 teams, and at that time where the fund was for Latin America, so there were 5 Brazilian teams and 5 other teams that spoke Spanish. So we were part of the Spanish speaking cohort. We were part of the same cohort, but they split into. Yeah.
Okay, great. So overall, a good experience. It sounds like that actually helped push the games onto
In fact,
Google Play.
In fact, we released first on Steam, and in fact, the game is doing a lot better on Google Play. Like it's like enormously, like the difference in downloads in Google Play, like is being really great. The reception of the game. So we're really happy that we have done this and we have ported the game and also released on Play Pass. That is the platform that we were contracted to do the game for. So the game is doing really well, and we had like a lot of positive comments. As I've known, the Summer Pixel team also has had a lot of positive comments too.
It's great to
So
hear.
maybe you can tell us about that.
Yes, it's really powerful. Google Play Pass, I believe, is a game changer on mobile because
Wow.
you have to compete a lot if you are not on the Play Pass, because when you launch your game, the same day they like 1,000 more games launches on mobile. So Google Play Pass shows your game to more people because there are like less games in the program, but also like I believe that algorithmically is like they show the game to the people they have to show the game, and that really you can tell with the reviews that game has. Like a lot of people who are really into narrative games play our game and they leave like great reviews, and we believe that Google Play Pass itself, which was the objective of this funding, is really helping us in order to have a wider player base.
That's great. And is it curating for the players who are into narrative games, or are they putting you on a front page, like kind of like being on the front page of Steam? Which is it more of like a random algorithm, or is it a curated page?
I believe there's a general algorithm, but
Okay.
if your game does well at first, it goes into Game of the Week, and that has a huge boost. And that's what happened to both Albi's game, Illuminaria, and our game, Night Reverie. And we really saw a great spike on downloads.
Do you have more players on, I guess, question for both of you, do you have more players on the mobile or on desktop versions of the game?
Definitely
Steam.
on mobile for us, like a lot more.
Wow. Okay.
You know, that's a good question.
Yeah, I think on mobile for us too.
I believe at the moment it could be mobile. Yes.
And I bet that's not something you considered at first until this all happened,
like,
right?
No.
Yeah, no. It was a very big and happy surprise, definitely.
And I'm sure Google was happy to hear those results as well, right?
They were telling like, why didn't you not think like doing the mobile game on the first time?
That's amazing. That's
Yes.
good to hear.
Yeah.
But maybe also is like in our case, maybe like you have to think on all platforms, like from the beginning. So, and that's something that we've learned, because when you make the PC version of the game, it's amazing because you have like all the player base from PC, and it's really easy to port maybe to other consoles.
Yeah.
But if all of your UI and game itself is like mobile first, I believe it can be like trickier going from mobile like to PC sometimes. I believe that.
Okay.
That's what I think on the experience.
Maybe
Because
it will depend on the game as well, but
it depends on the game.
That.
But I believe that when it comes to specific input of the controls, like maybe like thinking about having both a controller, having the gamepad, having the touch controls and the keyboard and mouse in consideration from the start.
Yes.
Like it can save you a lot of time if you design your controls that way.
Definitely. And Alvi was talking about that, how they made sure like the buttons and the interactions and even the gameplay where you don't have to micromanage each and every worker. Like it goes that deep, not just the UI and the controls, but the gameplay itself.
Mhm.
So it's really great that you considered that. And do you see yourself doing, like, I guess now is a good time to talk about like what's next for your studios. I know obviously you haven't announced any games. You don't have to talk about what you're actually working on, but just in general, like, are you already on to the next project? Are you going to continue to update your current games? What is the situation for each studio? And we'll start with Alvi.
Yeah, what we want to do right now is to create different prototypes of different ideas we have,
Nice.
and choose which one we think is gonna go do better. Maybe play test it with different people and see which one like sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
Super good
for
idea.
example, for Illuminaria, I think this game is a game that's made for me. Like I liked
Nice.
it a lot. Like it was a game that I wanted to make, and that I really liked the idea when Carlos started working on this prototype, and I wanted to continue this game, but we did not have like external validation from somebody else. Like for example, in the contest that we had with Naluleo, we had like external validation and people saying this is this a great idea. And for Illuminaria, we did not have that, and I think that impacted us. Like the results on the PC, for example, like we had that on the mobile version, but not for the PC version. Maybe that's the reason why it's not doing that well. So we want to develop different ideas and try it out with our community and see which one gets more interested and sorry, and then continue to develop that idea. But we still want to work on strategy games. We have a couple of ideas of other genres as well, so we will see what happens. And we definitely want to continue making mobile games,
Nice.
but also PC games. So yeah, let's see what let's see what happens.
So you're in a very fun kind of experimentation phase right now. And do you get to maintain your relationship with Google, or is it like one and done? You're part of the indie fund and then it's like goodbye? Or as an alumni, do you have any connection with Google after the fact? How does that work?
We continue like being in contact with the people at Google. We got invitations for events. For example, they had an event last month. We got invited, so we are a part of friends, I guess, from them. And then it will continue like getting this invitation for different opportunities they have. So I think that's how we'll continue our relationship.
And how about for Saul and Adolfo? How going forward, what are you planning?
Yeah, we're
Generally,
definitely as like a same thing as Alvi. Like we're right now like in how do you say lluvia de ideas? Brainstorming.
Brainstorming.
Yeah, brainstorming ideas just to see what we're gonna do for our next project.
Fantastic. Prototypes and things like that, or
yes, that's what we're doing at the
that?
moment. It's really fun. We also have some pending updates for the Steam version.
Oh yeah.
Yes, a big because we have to update with the new languages.
Oh,
So-
nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So more people will get the chance to
Yes,
experience
of
it.
course. Yes, at the moment, I believe there's 6 languages on Steam, and it will be up to 11 languages. So it's a huge boost.
And that's all thanks to the Google Play Store, like Indie Fund
Yes,
collaboration.
Thanks to the Google Indie Fund. Thanks to that, we were able to have these 5 new languages. And also, we are taking a look at the Steam Deck in order to be verified there. There were a couple of changes, so we had to make so more people can enjoy the game also on the go.
Great. And before we wrap the stream, I want to take the chance to get some your final takeaways. It was a long journey for everyone here, right? And get some final takeaways, maybe like a piece of advice you have for the people watching, for the people who want to go on a similar journey as you, right? So they want to be indie developers, they want to go full time, they want to create their first game. I'll go through each of you, and you can each give me like one thing that stands out. Let's start with Saul.
Okay, so I think the thing that has helped me the most, whatever you want to try, like doing your own studio or joining other group or joining another studio and doing the game that you're planning on, surrounded yourself with people that you admire, that you trust, that they're gonna give you I don't want to say value, but like people that you really are comfortable with working on. Because one thing is, to have friends, and another thing is just to work with that person. So see if your values are aligned, if the games that you want to do are also kind of like the same, if you share those things with the people, if you're surrounded with that kind of people that also give you good feedback, that helps you be better as an indie dev, be better as a person, then I think you'll be good and you'll make amazing games.
It's amazing. I love that. That's very human feedback. Very important to actually consider. Alvi, how about yourself?
Yeah. Two things. First, keep on your eyes peeled for opportunities like the Google Indie Fund. And for example, we also found about Wings that give us the fund on Twitter. So keep your eyes peeled for these opportunities and don't hesitate to apply. We also pitch our game to lots of publishers and we got lots of negative responses. So don't get discouraged. Like, keep trying. It's a lot of persistency, a lot of how do you say it? You need to try lots of times. So don't get discouraged. As Sol said, the worst thing that they could say is no. So you already have the no. So it's not bad to ask. And the other thing is also, as Sol says, surround yourself. Look for a community that could support you. For example, in Guatemala, we have the Game Dev GT or Game Dev GT in Spanish community, and look for people that could help you with the struggles that you have. If you don't know how to start a company, or if your build does not run,
right.
reach to somebody else that has already had this problems and that they have solved it before. So don't be afraid to ask. If you do not know anyone, you can ask me. Look for my name on the Twitter,
so
and
nice
I'll be happy to answer all the questions and help you in your journey. If anything that I've worked on previously helped you, I'll be happy to share my knowledge. I'm a teacher too, so I'm also used to dealing with students and when questions, and I'm very open to communicating and to answer. So if you don't have anyone to ask, you can ask me.
That's so kind of you, honestly. And I honestly feel this is how a lot of people in the indie space are very giving, and as you said, the worst response you can get is a no, but you're most likely to get the no with some advice or with some guidance. So always ask, always try. People tend to be very generous. I found in my experience, such as yourself, Alvi. It was very nice of you. And Adolfo, how about you?
Well, same as all, I will say that you have to surround with great people that can take your potential to a new level.
Yeah.
And really responsible people, and never procrastinate anything. It can be like a small task, like responding an email, but do not procrastinate. You have to do it. You have to take action, basically, every single time. The inaction, the lack of action is the worst when it comes to game dev, because there are so many things to do. Even though you don't like to do some things, you have to still do it. And an advice I have for maybe Latin American people or non-English speaking countries is learn English, because most of the communications and the opportunities come in English. And it would have been impossible even to do this stream if we didn't speak English. I'm not the most fluent English speaking person, but it is enough to communicate for me, at least. So aprendan inglés.
I think you're very fluent. I think you're all very fluent, and you did fantastic, and that's incredible advice. Actually, do not procrastinate, take the actions, because they do build up, and before you know it, it's overwhelming, and then you end. I don't know, personally, when I find I'm overwhelmed, I just tend to stop, because you don't know what to do next, right? But when you don't procrastinate, you don't get to that point. So that's fantastic advice.
That sums it up, taking action, in every single task that comes in game dev.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for taking so much time to be here and sharing your experience, being very transparent with your experience. This is so useful to everybody who's watching, to hear these different stories and inspire some ideas of what steps they could take next, or to paint different paths to get to their goals, right? The more journeys you know about, the more it seems like it's possible for you yourself to do that. And thank you to the audience. who joined us, and they were relating to your story very hard. People were talking about how web dev, for example, was so difficult, and how they didn't really want to stay in that career either, Alvi, and people loved the looks
No,
of your
no, no.
games. they're just relating to your stories and appreciating your games. So thanks so much for coming here, and for everyone watching, please make sure to subscribe and follow us. Subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitch. We'll be back next year with more streams, more creators, we'll be doing more features on our own internal tools. So don't miss us too much over your Christmas break, and enjoy it. Thanks again, guys.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Thanks.
Hassan.
Hassan.
And thanks all for watching.
Bye.
Yeah.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.